Ambassador Horie, the floor is yours. Thank you very much. Your first question was the endeavors for low carbonization in various countries and what challenges countries face to implement those measures. The participants here are mostly Japanese in the audience, and therefore I think this is well known to most of you, but we have experts from Qatar who will be the chair of COP18. And I think these are very fundamental issues that are already known to all of you, but let me explain. The biggest challenge, needless to say, is the nuclear power station accident March 11th. And how we should be responding to this unprecedented accident. As you are well aware, in 2009, of the total power generated, nuclear power accounted for 29%. And the plan in the basic plan for energy in 2010 was to raise this to 53% by 2030. 54 nuclear power reactors exist, and the plan was to newly establish 14 nuclear reactors. That was the major assumption. But after March 11, at the moment, of the 54, 52 are suspended, and only 2 are in operation. And in a matter of a few months, these 2 will also be suspended. Of course, some are due to scheduled regular inspection, but also security check needs to be done in a very robust manner, and stress test has been newly introduced to check the safety of the nuclear power reactors so that risk control is robust and that the local community understanding is obtained. Then for the first time, resumption of the operation at those nuclear power stations will be allowed for. So that would be the stringent process that we have to go through. But at any rate, dependency on nuclear power generation has already begun to decline and can only go down. The trend can only be downward in terms of dependency on nuclear. So in the midst of such circumstances, renewable energy like PV or geothermal or wind power generation will have to be increased. And we need to make more efforts than we have been conventionally. And for energy efficiency, we have to continue and further reinforce our efforts in energy conservation. At the same time, development of new technology must be more strongly promoted. By upcoming summer, the current Noda administration will come up with the best energy mix. And based upon the best energy mix, innovative energy environmental strategy will be announced by the Noda administration. And recently, we've been advocating that total energy, storage of energy, and conservation of energy. Creation of energy, storage of energy, and conservation of energy. Those are the key phrases that we've been advocating, and we're saying that all Japan-wide, nationwide efforts will have to be continued along those fronts by each and every citizen. So under such circumstances, what we need to assert as we relate ourselves to various other governments is the fact that in Japan, the Keidanren, the Federation of Business Organizations, has been taking the lead to promote voluntary actions by businesses. And Keidanren has its member companies covering 34 sectors like iron and steel, cement and glass. And in each of the 34 sectors, voluntary measures will be taken sector-wise, and at the business level, GHG emission reduction will be made in place. As the name says, they are voluntary in nature. These measures are voluntary in nature, but with the efforts made by Keidanren, and I'm sure members of the Keidanren are here, or those who are affiliated with the member businesses of Keidanren are here in the audience, innovation and technological development at the private sector will also have to be tapped upon if we are to low carbonize the society. And in Japanese households, 3R is being advocated: reduce, reuse, and recycle. This kind of campaign is being facilitated in the household sector, and on the occasion of March 11 last year, and as I explained in Part17, we encountered a situation where households were asked to take every measure possible to save energy consumption. And even in buildings of public offices, we dimmed the lights, and even the colleagues who are walking towards me was unidentifiable unless we came very close. It was very dark in the corridors of our offices. We tried to use maximum use of sunlights, and if there were 6 elevators, only 4 were in motion, and only the minimum necessary escalators were in operation. Those efforts had been made, and in factories of businesses and offices of businesses, similar efforts were made. Post March 11, even in the season where electricity demand peaks, 15% energy conservation was done in the eastern part of this nation. So likewise, the lifestyle in the Japanese society may begin to change. The moderator mentioned at the outset that country-specific measures should be mentioned, as well as the position towards international cooperation. So with your permission, I would like to continue to talk about international cooperation. In the context of this unprecedented disaster that we had encountered, yet we are determined to make even further efforts for international cooperation. I believe that a handout has been distributed to you with 2 pages, which is on the Japan's Fast Start Finance, General Policy of Japan's Fast Start Finance. Please take a look at the handout. The track record is indicated also in the English version. At the time of COP15, we pledged that such support would be offered in the area of emissions reduction and other measures for climate change. We would be targeting countries that are making such efforts, and also those who are particularly vulnerable to climate change. By identifying those developing countries, approximately $15 billion had been pledged on the occasion of COP15. And as of October 2011, more than $12.5 billion had already been implemented to 95 countries, developing and vulnerable countries. Almost 600 projects, or 592 projects, have been implemented in as many as 95 countries. On the bottom half, a few examples are cited. In areas of mitigation and adaptation and RED Plus and multi, the pie chart is divided in terms of adaptation for disaster prevention, capacity building, and equipment provision has been done to increase the resiliency against climate change. So we have provided assistance to Africa and developing nations, and Barbados is also included in the SIDS. And to 25 countries we provided such assistance, and in South Africa, climate change prediction in Samoa, coastal assistance are some of the projects that we've been doing. And in terms of water supply, to respond to desertization and drought, water supply projects has been implemented in Ethiopia, Kenya, Sudan, Pakistan, and Zambia. And in Tunisia, project for desalinization of groundwater had been implemented. And in many countries, water-related research and technical cooperation had been implemented. On the mitigation front, grid development in Kenya, Tanzania, and Zambia are being assisted for the construction of transmission facilities, and also renewable energy is being introduced as written on the right-hand side box. In 8 African countries, and SIDS solar energy projects have been started up, 3 in SIDS. In 24 countries, renewable energy projects have been realized, and in Egypt, wind power plant project, and in Kenya, geothermal power plant project had been launched. Finally, in red, forest conservation, 9 African countries have been assisted, 9 LDCs, as well as the AOSIS member countries, SIDS. 3 SIDS had been assisted. So a total of 21 countries have been assisted in terms of RED+. Multi-area, in other words, mitigation and adaptation area, we have contributed to the Global Environment Facility, GEF, and in cooperation with GEF, we've been assisting the efforts by developing nations in mitigation and adaptation. Last but not least, in COP17, AOSIS, to which Mr. Hart is a member, Alliance of Small Island States. And we've announced assistance to AOSIS for promotion of low-carbon economy and shift to low-carbon economy. Human resources development will be the target area, and in order to provide assistance, SIDS DOC will be launched. That's the name given, and we've declared financial contribution to SIDS DOC. Mr. Hart mentioned the various efforts in Barbados. In addition to Barbados, there are other small island nations that are making great efforts, and we hope that these financial contributions by Japan will further promote those efforts underway. Shift to low-carbon society is an area where Japan is making great efforts, and separately, particularly in that area, we have the African Green Growth Strategy and the East Asia Low Carbon Growth Partnership. But if I delve on this, it will become too long, so I will leave that for the next opportunity.
Thank you very much. Domestic efforts being made by Japan in response to Great East Japan earthquake, which created a new situation for Japan, and the explanation given in terms of efforts we are making for low carbon transition, and also fast start finance and so forth.